found the GroomPod. Welcome to our virtual salon. My name is Susy, and I'm your host. I'm a mobile groomer from Seattle, Washington, and anybody who knows me will tell you I love to talk, especially about my job. And one of my favorite people to talk to is my friend and mentor and the co-star of this show, the curator of ingredients, Miss Barbara Bird.
Hey, Susy, so happy to be here, and I've been on the detective march. I've been detecting this last week, and I can't wait to share it with you.
Excellent. Welcome to episode 454 of the GroomPod, recorded on August 3rd, 2025 in Snohomish, Washington and Greenville, South Carolina. I almost said Sacramento, California because Dana's information was still up. I missed that change.
You have to say South Carolina.
Greenville, South Carolina.
Right.
This podcast is brought to you by our kind sponsors, Best Shot, Show Season, Precision Sharp, Groomore, and Stasco. And if you'd like to support the show and help Barbara with her detecting, you can do so at our website, thegroompod.com, where there's a donation button that goes straight to Barbara to encourage her to continue exploring and doing sciencey stuff. Or you can join us on Patreon. There's a button for that too. And you can support the show that way. This week, we're going to talk about the importance of coat prep, and we're going to learn a little grooming history about the guy with the best hair in the industry. What's new this week is brought to you by Show Season.
Show Season has a great enzymatic cleaner called Kennel Fresh, and you dilute it with warm water, and it smells good, and then it evaporates to be a deodorant. As the Kennel Fresh dries, it's enzymatic. It eats the bacteria and the odor source. So it's really good stuff. You can use it indoors or out. Find it at your local distributors or showseasongrooming.com.
So, Barbara, my dog behavior journey continues. I signed up for more classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, good for you. You're going to become an expert.
I'm not there yet, but the class is to become a family dog mediator. And it's based on the program by Kim Laube that's called LEGS, which means that every dog, really everything, but every dog is an amalgam of learning, environment, genetics, and self. And taking all those things into account, you make a plan as how to deal with the behavior. So excited to do it. I really believe in that theory of the learning, environment, genetics, and self being all contributing parts to the whole picture. So if anybody's interested, you can look up Kim Laube. She has a book about it. It's self-guided, but I was like, thinking it would be more video. There's a lot of actual physical reading involved, which means I can't do something else while I'm studying. But I'm super excited to do it, and I'll get to be a family dog mediator. I'll have that after my name, although I don't know where that's going to fit on my business card, but I'll try to find a spot, by golly. It's going to be neat. So, of course, as usual, I will be bringing some of that here. Some of the stuff I learn, I'm sure we'll be talking about.
Hey.
So you were gone last week, and we had our field reporter, Dana Chavez-Ray, on playing the part of you. This was the first time where I kept the format the same, and she just actually played your part, minus the, classroom sciencey bit. And she was great. I was so excited to have her on. And there is a video of that. So if you're more into watching two people talk on a video, you can do that at the YouTube page. Otherwise, the audio will be released as well, although I'm not going to edit it because it was really pretty good just like it was. So I'm leaving it like it was. So that was cool. What did you do while you were gone?
I went to the huge Greenville dog show, and it was actually turned out to be more of a social occasion than an educational occasion, because I went with Melody, my groomer friend, and we met up with Katie, who shows her own Bedlington, beautiful Bedlington. Roger is his name. And she was there, and we just talked worked our heads off all day long and watched dogs in the ring, watched all the groups, watched Best in Show. Um, there was a shown that made it all the way into the Best in Show ring, and the dog moved really well. Although, why in the world do they go as fast as you can anymore? That seems to be a little bit counter traditional. I don't know.
I always wondered about that.
Yeah, I wonder about that too, because it just seemed to be like moving the little dogs faster and faster. The only one that doesn't go any faster is the Pekingese.
Right.
There's no picking up the pace with the Pekingese.
How fun, though.
So it was, so anyway, I loved the way this dog moved, but when the dog came around and it was actually stacked right in front of me, I hated the way they did the head.
Oh,
I didn't like it at all. It just looked like a plate. The plate head.
yeah, I don't like that.
I figured out that maybe the dog had a short neck and they had to clean it all out in order to elongate the idea of the neck. But it didn't win Best in Show. There was a terrific little miniature schnauzer that made it into the Best in Show, who also didn't win, but he was a real showman. And it was all very fun, and it was fun talking with Katie, and it was fun supporting her as she showed her dog. She had the only Bedlington Terrier in this whole huge show. I mean, there were like 17 Borzois. Who sees, I could go to 3 dog shows and not see a Borzoi. You get them next door, but
She travels all over the place and her dogs are all over the country. So it doesn't surprise me that there's a lot of them in South Carolina.
there was a lot of them. Like this show is so big that there's like 20 specialties associated with this 3-day show.
Wow.
And I think maybe Borzois was one of them. I went primarily to see the Borzois. I want to see the Borzois, right? And it was a mixed feeling because I missed my Arturo so much. And he was such a fabulous soulmate type dog. And we were such a couple. We were really such a couple. But you could see the Borzoi sense of humor and playfulness when there was enough dogs that they were noticing each other and lighting up and flirting a little bit. And it was fun watching the Borzoi. And there are just a lot of breeds that I often wouldn't see very many of, but for unknown reasons, there was only one Bedlington Terrier. And Katie had done such a terrific job of presenting this dog, of scissoring this dog. I think she's about ready to compete with Nadia Boncelli. I mean, it was flawless.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried to hand scissor a Bedlington Terrier, but it is hell.
I've never even done one. I've never had the opportunity.
It is just hell because they have different color in the coat next to the skin. It's darker. That if you don't scissor perfectly evenly, you have this color styration that can happen. It's very challenging, not just to get the correct curvy lines and everything, but the coat itself is from hell. And it's one of those things that not everybody can do. And Katie had done a terrific job. What was fun was that I complimented her and she just melted. It's like my compliment. one woman made such a difference to her. Isn't that something? I forget who I am.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm nobody, and then something like that happens, and
cool.
I was just so glad I was able to do that for her, see her and compliment her grooming. It was a lot of fun, but it was very social and interactive and a good day.
So I've been doing a lot more scissoring of front legs.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to do that. Man, I'm just not gifted in that respect. I comb up, I find the sticky outies, I scissor them beautifully round, then I comb up and there's 800 sticky outies again. And then I put the dog on the ground and I see more sticky outies. I'm so much better with clippers than I am with scissors, but it's such good practice for me to be doing
Yeah,
this.
and here's what you can do. Use a 5-in-1 with a snap-on comb and then scissor over it because that will set the length and then back comb it all up and scissor it even again.
Okay.
And that should make it easier for you to get there, from here.
I'll have to buy a 5-in-1 because I don't have one. I have a cordless clipper that I could use my Andis Emerge.
Well, you can use that. You can use that.
My problem is it's Shih Tzus with very bad fiddle front, and I'm trying to camouflage it. So if I run down my usual technique of going down the leg, first of all, I'm going to have a weird S-shaped leg. And secondly, it's uncomfortable for the dogs for me to manipulate their front legs anymore as they're aging. So I'm trying to do it foot on the ground, scissor around it without having to pick up that leg. And they're so short. So that's where I've ended up, is I've ended up with my scissors. And by rights, I'm a dog groomer. I should be able to do this. But, I put him down on the ground and I'm like, wow, that right leg looks great. That left leg looks absolutely horrible. Why? But anyway, I'm working on it, and I'm grateful that I have my lynx shears to do it because it does make it easier if you have better, longer shears to do those legs. I find that I get a little choppy if I use the real short shears, that I make little divots and stuff.
Yeah, it's true. There's much to be said for long blade shears. You just have to have the right length for you. I rarely would use anything over an 8.
My bobcats are pretty long. I realize they're longer than my lynx shears, that they both have the sliding thumbs, but the bobcats are much longer. And I took my bobcats and I did the back of the Shih Tzu leg, and it actually was it had a better look than me trying to hack away at it with my little ones. So I'm evolving. That's what I'm saying. I'm evolving, Barbara.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Well, we're all on the journey.
Yes.
We're all on the journey. I'm still trying to get Marco's face right.
Yeah, I get it. All right, well, let's take a break, and then we're going to just have a little chit-chat about the importance of coat prep. This is one of Barbara's favorite subjects, so that's why I picked it. Plus, I always could use more advice in this department. So let's take a break. We'll hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with our first appointment. Let me tell you about Best Shot's newest addition to the Ultramax Pro line. Ultramax Hair Hold is a flexible hairspray that can be layered on for a stronger hold. Ultramax Hair Hold Spray is great, but my favorite new product is called the Max, and I won't groom without it. It's a fragrance-free ultra-concentrate conditioner and detangler. It reduces drying time and handles undercoat and tangles like magic. Just a few drops in the final rinse or spray it on and dry it in. Contact your favorite Best Shot distributor or learn more online at bestshotpet.com. Grooming success begins with Best Shot in your tub. Made from the best stuff on earth. Did you know that Stasco has come out with a couple of new products? First, there is the Stasco Oatmeal Protein Conditioner. This conditioner provides exceptional body and manageability and super shiny finishes. And it has a wonderful apple scent that I love. Great in the recirculator, too. And they have a new matching protein conditioning spray, dematting, anti-static conditioning, and finishing all in one, just like the original Stasco spray, but with that delicious apple fragrance. Look for these new products at trade shows and your favorite distributors like Cascade Grooming Supplies. Ready, groomers? Here comes our first appointment. So when I was debating this topic, I, of course, went to my new best friend, Gemini AI, and I said, hey, what are some of the important things about coat prep for dog grooming? And it gave me some erroneous stuff, so I had to go in and correct it.
Oh, isn't that fun?
Yes.
Does it make you feel so knowledgeable? Wait a minute, excuse me, artificial intelligence, but you're wrong.
Yeah, it had me dematting and de-shedding dogs before the bath. So I went in there and I said, yeah, I explained why, and then they reformulated my question using the new information and said that they would use it in the future. But that was really fun. But then I was like, okay, I don't want any of this, and I threw it all out and I just wrote it myself because I do a better job. I mean, AI is good and it's handy, but it's not quite the same as a human. So you guys who are worried out there, we've got a little ways to go before it actually eliminates some of the writing jobs, but it does certainly give you guidance. So without great coat prep, there's no great finish. And great finish is really, really a necessity to have that amazing competition dog, those beautiful show dogs like you were talking about, or the persnickety client that really likes the dog to look like a stuffed animal. And thank goodness I don't do any of those. I mean, really. I feel happy for that. So let's talk about some of the things to consider when you're dealing with the finish, the coat prep, the coat finish, all of that stuff. So the type of haircut and the coat type have a big influence on how you do your prep work. And sometimes this is tough when you've got bathers that really don't have the grooming experience to know what's going on. I know that you had some challenges there, but I think that the goal of the groom, like what you're going to do for the end result, kind of lays the groundwork for your prep work. For instance, since my focus is behavior cases, my prep work is not quite as significant in my finish. It is with some of the dogs and some of the owners, but for the most part, I'm just trying to make the dog comfortable and have a decent experience with me. So maybe with behavior cases, they kind of get a modified, adjusted prep work. But for anybody with a competition or a show home, or owners with high expectations, or groomers with high expectations like Barbara, who really, where the haircut is so important and the styling is so important, then you want to take extra care in your prep work. And like I was saying, maybe pet homes with hair that gets cut off every 3 months or something like that. You don't have to really worry about it as much. But for most of us, we do have some of those really nice fancy dogs where we want to make them look so cute and so beautiful. And like I was talking about before, whether you use scissors or clippers also has some kind of influence on how the prep work goes. But I think product choices can really mess you up. Really, because it affects the finish. We all love our varieties of shampoos. I'm especially into like 14 different shampoos that I carry in my trailer because I really like to tailor it to the individual coat and the individual dog. But the main function of the shampoo portion is to get the dog clean, right?
Right. So you really shouldn't need a whole lot of different shampoos, but you might want to have a whole lot of conditioning alternatives
Why is that?
because the conditioners make more of a difference to the coat finish than does the shampoos.
It's where the goodies that really affect the finish are. I mean,
Yeah.
they can put all the goodies they want in the shampoo, but it doesn't hold the candle to what happens when you do the conditioning part.
Right. And I think that one of the biggest mistakes that groomers can make is to over condition or to use a conditioner that overly softens the coat. And you don't realize it unless you use it on a dog that you didn't use it on before. And then you can tell, oh God, I can't scissor this dog today at all. Well, for example, you were talking about scissoring a dog leg and putting it down and shaking it, and then there's sticky outies again. Sometimes that's from overly softening the coat so that the coat, some or all of the hairs are lying flat. And then you try to fluff it up and it's falling back down as you work. That's why you see in the competition ring a lot of finishing sprays being used, both texturizing sprays and sprays that are just cutting the static electricity. Because you probably don't have what I've got a frog in my throat that's as big as my head.
I need a sound effect that goes ribbit, ribbit for the frog in your throat moment.
Ah, for my frog. My voice is going through a new level of aging, which I'm hating.
Ah, yes.
Just when I thought maybe I would sing again, ain't no way. The over softening really can make your finish work harder instead of easier. It will make, if you're using snap-on combs, it can make the snap-on comb finish not as good. You don't really often realize that you've done yourself in unless you have a lot of experience behind knowing what it could look like and what it could feel like. And we've kind of gone all the way in the other direction from never using any conditioners to always using a rinse through conditioner with every dog. Well, guess what? You don't always need that. Nowadays there's conditioners in shampoos. You can more easily get by with a spray-on conditioner that you can control how much conditioning you're doing to the legs versus maybe the body. And you can double up on your particular areas where there's friction from the dog's behavior, like the elbows, around the elbows, the armpits, and stuff like that, behind the ears. I came in my later years to strongly believe in shaving out the armpits of most everybody, unless there was a front that didn't work if I did that. But I think that's one of the biggest favors you can do your clients, your customers, is to just get those armpits. Not so extreme that you're cutting down the inside of the front legs, but just the armpit area where there's actual movement and friction of any kind is likely to cause matting.
Here, I got a question about mats. So one of the things that AI said wrong was that you don't ever want to wash a dog that's matted, or at least I thought it was wrong. And then I thought maybe I should ask Barbara. They actually said that mats tighten when they're washed, and I've never found that to be true. Is that an old wives' tale or is it actual?
Well, if you use a strong detergent shampoo that has, like, let's say a clarifying shampoo, has got no additives, right? Zero. That could be true. In other words, in the old days, back in the day, that was true. That was before we had conditioners. When you shampoo and condition and then use a high velocity dryer that helps to blow the hair apart, it's not a bad thing. So I think that AI, your AI on that day, if you would have asked me, I could have asked my AI and we could have compared notes. We'll have to do that sometime because
That'd be fun.
I've got that $20 a month AI. You know?
It's got to be better if you pay for it. I always wondered that with hookers. Like, guys always think
Yeah.
that hookers are better because you're paying for them. Guess what? I knew a lot of hookers. They weren't any better. Trust me on that one. All right. So, how about the method of bathing? For instance, we've got people who still hand bathe and dilute the shampoo and do it with their fingers. And then there's the old classic shampoo delivery system where you've got a tank of stuff and you're spraying it on the dog. And then there's the recirculating bathing system, which we know is for sure the best way to apply conditioner. Like there's no better way to apply conditioner than using a recirculating bathing system. Do you think your hand bathing versus shampoo delivery versus recirculating has a different effect on the end result? Or as long as you get the dog clean, are you good?
No, I think it does because science tells us that everything you do to the hair that rubs it together can cause surface damage to the hair cuticle. And that, I mean, it's tiny amounts of surface damage, but it's cumulative. Though the business about, I'll tell you, I had the experience I had once about washing the hair without conditioner and it matting up. I was going to a dog show. I was living in Tempe, Arizona at the time, and I was working at the Arizona State University, and I had to fly to Southern California, like San Diego or someplace, for this dog show. And I was taking my Lhasa Apso young dog, not over a year. I think we were still in the puppy class. And the night before, I gave him a bath. And then I put him in a crate the next day and I took him to the airport. And we had a delay, hour, 2 hours, something like that. It was a long delay. And I had given the dog a tranquilizer, but there wasn't enough tranquilizer to last for the delay plus the trip.
Yikes.
And he was in a wire crate. He came out of the luggage department, and he looked like 2 times bigger than usual. He was like puffed up, and it hit me. Oh, fuck, I forgot to use the conditioner. And that dog had rubbed up against the wire crate, and he was matted head to toe. And it took me all night long to demat him. And then we had to go into the show ring and perform. Neither one of us was worth shit. We didn't win anything. It was the biggest mess. It was horrible. I learned such a lesson.
I bet.
I totally forgot. I was like so stressed out. What am I going to wear and all that kind of shit that I neglected to condition my Lhasa Apso in full flowing coat.
And puppy coat, too. Yikes.
Puppy coat, too. Yikes, I know.
All right. So let's move on to the other thing that is, I think, the most influential next to conditioners, and that's the drying process. The drying process, super important. I mean, cannot even stress how important the drying process is.
I just remembered that I saw a new drying tool.
The shoulder dryer?
No, there's shoulder dryers all over AliExpress and all those things. No, it was the Furlosophy. Have you seen the Furlosophy people? They have this dryer, this thing you put on like at the end of the hose, and it's like a cap that has holes in it. And also it's got a convex curve in it, so it will fit the curve of the body and the head and under the chin, and you can dry these sensitive areas where the dog doesn't want you to blow.
That's handy.
And I thought that looked real handy. I'm just looking for easier things and how to stay organized on my table. The Alpha grooming tools, and I don't know if this was an Alpha grooming tool or if it was a philosophy grooming tool.
Oh, look at that. That's weird. It's a diffuser,
Yeah,
like for curly hair people.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
cool. Looks interesting. So they were using it in the show ring or in the grooming area?
No, I just found it online.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to try the philosophy bath alternative.
Oh, all
It's
right.
sort of I think it's like a bath bomb it's like a shampoo bomb, a fur bomb is what they call it.
Oh, what a good name. I like it.
So I think it's basically a bath bomb, and I think I'm going to try it. The people that made the bathing tablets,
Yes.
they're gone.
They're gone? Oh,
They still have a Facebook page, but there's nothing on there since 2022. Their buying website is error.
huh. Wow, that's a surprise.
Yeah.
You know who else is going away? Since we're on the subject, the clothes that I like. Ooh La La Spa Wear. The husband died.
Uh,
The wife is not the one who ran the business, so they're selling out all their inventory. So if you guys like their stuff, get on it and get some of it because it'll be gone. When it's gone, it's gone. Which bums me out, so I bought extra. So now I've got backup for my cool.
8 grooming smocks.
Yes. Back to drying. So I think that the different methods of drying end up with different results. And for instance, the dogs that want a rustic coat, like all of the doodles who want their coats curly, passive drying methods work better for that. So if you've got the ability, put them in a cage behind a cage dryer and let that dog curl up. Even though it's harder to groom it that way, it's definitely what the owners and the breed specifies. But if you're doing poodles or bichons or something that really needs to be beautifully stretch dried, you really probably should have a stand dryer for that and some technique, right? How do you stretch dry? Describe stretch drying because I don't do it a lot.
Okay, so the old way, which is the way that I learned how to dry everything, was that you have heated air blowing on the part of the dog you want to dry, and you use a pin brush to dry it from the bottom of the leg up. That's how to use it. Not from the top of the leg down, because whenever you dry from the hip down to the toe, you can cover up still wet hair in the middle of the leg because you think you've done it. So go from the bottom up. And we used to have to dry each leg, the outside, the inside, the front, and the back, as separate and specific areas.
If you don't stretch dry right, you screw the person who's finishing the dog.
That's right. That's why I had to keep a human dryer on a clamp at my table so that I could go over anything that my bather dried for me because I would find curliness left in the hock, like behind the hock. Who picks the leg up and does the hock? Me.
You're supposed to.
You're
Yep.
supposed to. Yeah, no, we don't do that.
So you can kind of make a stand dryer out of an HV dryer using a hose clamp like that, but it's not really quite the same thing.
It's not quite the same thing because with a stand dryer, you have a much wider range of options of angles and whatnot to set the dryer at. But I got pretty good at using the stand dryer. And if you don't teach somebody how to use the stand dryer, they're just going to set the dryer too far away from the dog and just hope for some air to reach.
Right.
You've got to put the dryer right on, but you can get nearly the same result if you force dry 3/4 of the way and then stretch dry the last quarter.
Good tip. Very good tip.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe even more than 3/4. As long as there's some moisture left in there, some dampness when you go to stretch dry. What the worst problem is when novice preppers, people who don't know what they're doing, they don't get the dog completely dry. That's only acceptable when you're working with behavioral difficulties. That would be a part of my verbal contract with my client. I always thought in terms every time they brought a dog in, we made a verbal contract on what would happen. Even if it was the same as you've been doing, it looks great, you know. But if it was a dog that had difficulties or a first time puppy, we may not be able to finish it as perfectly as we will down the line. It's just really important when drying that you don't move to the next area until you fully dry the area you are addressing.
That's me. That's me. I get ants in my pants on that last back leg. Started at one back leg, I go all the way around the front of the dog, and I get to that last back leg, and I have ants in my pants, and I just want to finish the dog. And I'll start working on the body and the jacket, and I'll look down at that last leg, and I've left the whole inside wet. And I have to stop everything and go back. That is a huge flaw on my part. But luckily, I can HV dry most of my dogs, and I find that I get a different finish from different nozzles. So I make sure that I remember that I can take the nozzle off and just use the cuff and put it up close, and that's going to straighten the hair from the skin out a little bit better than me wiggling around on the top of the hair and leaving the inside slightly damp. So, but with my dogs, it doesn't matter.
Do you use the cone nozzle?
Never. I might as well take it out of my trailer.
Me neither, never. I used to go slightly bananas when I would see an employee using the cone nozzle because it dries such an explicit small area. It's going to take you forever. Or the other thing you do, you get the cone nozzle on there and wave it, and it will whip mat.
Yeah, I like the water peeler that comes from Romani. I like that.
Me too.
As my primary big dog, have to blow hard on it. But for the most part, I use the cuff. I use that little gray cuff that fits into the interior of my canine too, and I use that for almost every dog, and it works great.
Yeah, I used to use that. Yeah, I used to use that size too. I thought that it works pretty good. And you can put it right up to,
Hold it right on that skin and just very slowly move it.
you want to see the hair separate. And at first, it'll be what I call little wormy things.
Yeah, the squiggles.
Looks like little squiggles and little wormy things. And those things have, when they're completely dry, they're straight. And that's what you look for. But it is so hard to teach some people to be patient enough to do that. Yvonne used to just go around and around and around the dog 10 times.
That's great for blowing the water off.
Yeah, you can do that first.
Yes.
And even then, when I was blowing the water off, I liked to use a towel in my other hand so that, especially if I was doing like the back of one leg, I would put the towel in there so that I couldn't blow water from the inside of one leg to the inside of the other leg.
I do that. Yeah, that tip to hold a towel has helped me tremendously. So the last thing I want to say about your prep work is use the most gentle brush when you're brushing out the dogs before they go to the groomer. Use the most gentle option that you can that still gets through the coat. So like start off with the Pinello brush comb thing. Maybe use a vented pin brush, one of the human hair type. If that doesn't work, then use a pin brush. If that doesn't work, then you might need to grab this threaded slicker. But that's only if you really need to demat a spot. Like, don't, it does straighten hair beautifully. It separates the hair. So for that, it's good. Use the most gentle tool you possibly can.
Yeah, and don't use super hot air right at the skin of the dog. Don't use super hot air and the slicker brush. That's double trouble for causing surface damage throughout the coat.
Let's take a quick break. We're going to get some fun history about a grooming icon that we don't see anymore. The GroomPod and Precision Sharp would like to invite you to check out the newest precise cut shear called Lynx. Its patented design features a thumb ring that slides the length of the handle for perfect ergonomic placement of your thumb. Slide it, lock it into place, and get your best grooms on. Check it out at precisionsharp.com. If you haven't found Groomore, you're missing out. Groomore is an all-in-one software solution for your grooming business. Whether you are a solo mobile groomer or manage several shops, Groomore has everything you need. 24-hour online booking and forms, routing, credit card processing, reminders, Google Calendar and QuickBooks integration, and so much more. And the best customer service anywhere. Shop mobile or house call, Groomore has you covered. And they're giving us a free month. Just enter GroomPod22 in the coupon code. Groomers, take your seats. It's time for B-Bird's Classroom.
So, Susie, guess who I've been thinking of this week? Kim Laube.
Kim Laube, the guy with the best hair in the industry?
Yeah.
I just remember his hair. I remember his family's hair. It was obviously genetic. They floofed it up. They all looked the same. There was a lot of hair. There's a lot of hair.
What would you call that style? It was a bouffant up on top, right?
It was a men's bouffant. A man bouffant.
A man bouffant, yeah. Yeah, very high, slicked back, and it was characteristic. He was another, what we would call, colorful character.
Definitely.
At the trade shows for years. And his business grew so that at the trade show he would have 3 or 4 times the amount of space that a regular vendor would have. Just a whole corner full of his stuff. And he would be showing and demoing his clippers and tools, and he had shampoos, and he was amazing. And he was another head of company that I danced around with about ingredients. He was a great dancer. And part of it was that he was a flirt. Yeah. So you could flirt with him and talk and tease about where's the ingredients. A couple of times I was able to have serious conversations with him. I found him very bright. He really understood my point about transparency equals, what is my point?
Trust. Transparency equals trust.
Transparency equals trust. To me, it's almost a moral problem or thing, or, like we want to know what's in the bottle, and we want to know that what you say is in there is in there.
Yeah.
Etc. 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 But anyway, I used to have a number of conversations with him about it, and I would sum up Kim Laube and call him a genius trickster. He was an inventor. He invented his own clipper systems, and he really made improvements to his clippers over other clippers. he was just always thinking of inventing new things. Finally, invention was his downfall because somewhere around 2016, 2015, 2016, he invented a tool to use as an alternative to the Furminator rake, the shedding rake. And his tool, I loved it because you could use it as a de-shedder and then you could slide the blade off and put a comb in there and use that as a rake.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that was cool. It was very ingenious, very cool. But he got in a lot of trouble because there was a little matter of copyright infringement that Furminator took way more seriously than Kim Laube took.
Aha.
He danced around with the court for 3 years on this. He countersued. He was found guilty of infringement, but he countersued and claimed that he had invented a similar tool before Furminator, but he had never brought it to market. They found out that was a lie. He lied to the court. One thing you don't want to do is lie to the court, lie to the judge. He lied to the judge's face.
Bad idea.
So, another thing that he did that failed is that he tried to show that Furminator tool cut growing hair as well as shedding hair, and his tool did not. And he brought in samples and had an expert analyze the samples, but they tore it apart because he provided the tools that got the samples. He directed a groomer to obtain the samples, and he gave them to the court, and then he gave them to his expert witness, and the expert witness, he didn't handle the sample getting. He just looked at it. Could have been, he could not account for the possibility of chewing or scratching or the dog somehow breaking its own hair versus hair that was cut by the tool. He couldn't distinguish that.
The study was all loosey goosey and it didn't hold up.
Yeah, it was all loosey goosey, and there again, it didn't hold up, and it just made him look more the trickster in court. So what they did, they doubled his fine, and he was fined over $1 million.
Wow.
And if he had just shut up and, the whole time he was in court fighting Furminator, he was selling his version of Furminator, his shedding blade. Man, the court got so mad at him. They just loaded it on him, and it pretty much ran him out of Dodge. He was still allowed to sell his clippers, his shampoos, and a couple of combs and rakes that he developed early on. And I really liked his tool better. But so it went, and he quickly disappeared. And his sons appeared in his place.
With the same hair.
Yeah, with the same hair.
Sorry.
And some of the same spiritedness. That's what I missed. I missed his energy and his enthusiasm and his salesmanship and his ability to talk you into anything. He was a cool guy, but he was kind of an asshole. at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
But he wasn't just an asshole. He was brilliant. He was a true inventor. And he had started his trip in the grooming industry as a sharpener. It was before the internet, way in the late 70s. He was a sharpener in the Southern California area, and he went around and grooming shop to grooming shop and did their blades and scissors. And so he gained a lot of information about blades and scissors and clippers. He repaired clippers. So when it came time for him to develop his own innovations on clippers, he knew his stuff.
He had a cool vacuum system that had a light in it, and I think you still had yours.
Yeah, I used my iVac for years. I really preferred it because it didn't have an attachment on top of the clipper. The clipper had a vacuum within it and a chamber that went from the front to the back and into a hose. It just worked very well.
It had less resistance on your wrist. Plus, I liked the light.
Yeah, I love that. And it was easy enough to tune it up. You could replace the front plate and the drive and that kind of stuff. I did that a couple of times. And I used my iVac until I closed my shop, actually, for about probably 8 to 10 years. So we miss Kim Laube, but I'm sure Furminator doesn't. See, Furminator was a husband and wife who invented the Furminator and took it to market. I mean, and so it was like, kind of like one family business ripping off another family business. It was kind of a sad situation. And the other thing I discovered in my detective work was that somewhere early on, Wall Company bought Laube and made them a subsidiary.
Oh,
That was like on the down low. We never knew that. And it was only when I looked up AI to help me find this other information that it dug up this fact that he was a subsidiary of Wall all the time that I knew him at the trade shows. But we miss him. What I noticed was that I think they're really making something of a comeback, whoever owns the company now, and it may be his sons under another name. They are selling, they don't sell direct, but they are selling at petstoredirect.com. They've got the full line of Laube, the Kelco, Filthy Kelco, Wild Animal, Nature's Choice, all those shampoos. The last time that he had an invention, a patent, was for the Wild Animal Face Off blueberry facial stuff. And I am really curious to try it. I ordered some because I used to use the original South Park blueberry facial that the Blueberry Girls, as they were called, put on the market. It was their product, and Laube used to manufacture for them and probably formulated their original product, which then turned out to be a little bit irritating to the eyes. And it was determined that they were using sodium lauryl sulfate, the most harsh detergent, as a facial shampoo. No wonder they had some eye episodes. In fact, I had about 3 eye episodes with that stuff. But they changed the formula, and then later the Blueberry women sold their brand to Show Season, who now sells it. I want to see what this wild animal face wash is like. And plus, I have a Maltese that has a very dirty face. He's got stains in his beard because he won't let me work on it. and I'm hoping that maybe I can clean him out. And he's got stains, urine stains on his back legs where he was wearing the diapers. He's kind of beyond that stage now. I'm not using that anymore, but I want to see if I can whiten him up, and I'll report back when it comes.
Stay tuned, folks.
Stay tuned. We'll tell you. And so if you are wondering where Laube went, the products are now at Pet Store Direct. Everything is there. I liked their clippers. His clippers were lightweight. They really worked, and they were easy to tune up.
Which I love.
Yeah. So that was that.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up this week on the GroomPod. You've heard enough of us droning on about exciting grooming topics. We love that you're here with us, and we love that you support our sponsors. Remember to support Barbara at the website, thegroompod.com, and click on that donation button and give her some support to buy some more stuff and do some more experimenting. And happy grooming, everyone. See you next time on the GroomPod. Bye-bye now.
And take care of yourselves, because we love ya.